everyone, and welcome to Volusia Reads Education Station. I'm Miss Laura, and I'm sitting right now in the Port Orange Regional Library. I was just sitting here thinking about some of the really good books that I've read recently, and before I turn them back into the library and pick out my next book, I thought I would share with you some of the things I like to do when I finish a book. The first thing is I like to keep a little book of books. This is Laura's book of books. And it's a notebook where I write about the books I've read. I even put the date so I can remember when I read them. And it's a way to keep track of things I've read and things I liked about the books, or I even put little drawings that help me remind me what the book is about. I like to ask myself questions like, did I like the book? Why or why not? And some of my favorites are when I don't like a book, to write about that. What was my favorite part or my least favorite part? What were some of the characters like? Am I like any of the characters? I like to even think about them and how I'm like them or how I'm not like them. Is there something that I wish was different about the book? If I was the author, would I write the story differently? Would I put something else in or take something out? Is there something they did in the book that I would like to try in my own life? Maybe I'll even think about how I could do that. What do I think will happen next in the book? If it ends on a cliffhanger, I'll write about that. What do I think will happen? Or if I really like the characters, what do I think happens in their life when the story's over? Or how would I describe this book to a friend? I even try to think about 2 or 3 words that I would use to describe it and hopefully encourage them to read it, especially if I liked it a lot. But I like to do that in the book. It lets me keep track and helps me think about the books a little bit more before I turn them back into the library. But you may think I'm done. But before I even turn them in, I like to do a few other things. Because books aren't just something you can read from cover to cover. There's actually a lot of other things you can do with them. You can make them a story starter, or a place for poetry, a secret message sender, or even a bingo card. There's a lot of other things you could do too, and right now I'm going to show you some of those things, maybe even encourage you to do them before you turn your books back into the library, and maybe even inspire you to think of some things you could do with a book that I haven't even thought of. We're going to get ready and do that right now. So one activity you can do with the book before you turn it back into the library is to use it as a story starter. And what I mean by that is using the book to inspire your own writing or your own drawing. And there's a few different ways you could do that. One is to just look at the cover of the book. Look at the title of a book and let that inspire your writing. You could also look at different sentences in the book. I'm going to look at the first sentence of a few books, and I could use that to inspire my own story. For example, this one says, I've imagined lots of ways to get famous. This is the first line of this book. I've imagined lots of ways to get famous. Wouldn't that be an amazing story starter? What would you imagine to make yourself famous? Or this one, I wasn't thinking about becoming a spy that night. That could start all kinds of stories. Or, the monster had a penguin's body, a unicorn's head, and sharp fangs. Just imagine the story you could write with that as your first line. It's a great way to make your imagination go and to think of your own stories just by using the books that you've been reading. A book can also be a place for inspiring poetry, a place for poetry. And I'm going to use this book to show you how you could use a book to write a poem. All you need to do is get a little piece of paper, scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to fold it in half. I want to cut out make it into a frame, cut a little square rectangle in the paper so that it can be a frame. And then you just use the frame to choose little sections of your book. And within that little section, that little rectangle you created, you're going to choose words and use those to create a poem. They might be kind of crazy poems. Just to warn you, I'm going to tell you a few that I made. It just says, smelled, squeezed, blubbering, knotted wave, bells sounded, doors open. Might not make much sense. Or with this one, Each noise, kind words, talking, skittery, fiddled away. Or in this book, I did it in a few different books I've been reading. This is Caterpillar Summer. Majestic places, all small, stacked ideas, changing like you. It's just a fun way to look at a book differently and to create little poems, look at the words that are being used, and have some fun. Okay, our next activity is going to be to use the book as a secret message sender. And I think this is my favorite way to use a book, besides reading it. What you do is you choose a book, and then you have a friend, and together you decide on a secret code to use when you're reading the book to be able to send messages back to each other. And I did this with Miss Rebecca. We chose this book together, and we created a code. And our code is that we would give each other lists of numbers, and the first number on each line would refer to the page. The second number in each line would refer to the line on that page, and the third number would refer to the word on that line. So we had made a little code with page, line, word, and we just kept repeating it to choose words in the book to send a message. Miss Rebecca sent me this one, and I have discovered the first 4 words that she was writing to me, but I still have one more to do, so I thought we would do that together. So far, my message from her is watch out for mysterious, and I have 3 numbers left. I have a 24, so I'm gonna look on page 24. Let's see what it is, page 24. And then I'm going to look down on line 18, because she gave me the number 18. Okay. And then I'm going to look at the 5th word, because 5 is the next number on my list. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the word I found is lizards. So the message she sent me is watch out for mysterious lizards. I do not know what that means. So maybe the message I would send to her is, what do you mean by that? And I would look for those words in the book and send it to her in code. But it's a really fun thing to do with the book, especially if you're reading the same book as a friend, or if you think a friend should read it, you could create a little bookmark and then give that to them and suggest that they read the book and send a message to them just to start the book. But it's a fun thing to do. You can even think of your own codes, maybe use the last word on a page and just tell them the page numbers. It's a really fun thing to do. Think of your book in a different way than you have before. Another activity is to use your book to play bingo. Have you ever played bingo before? Usually you have a card and then someone calls out letters and numbers and you look for those on your card and you mark them, and you're trying to get 5 in a row or a line or even the 4 corners, and then you yell out bingo when you have all of them. Well, we're going to do that using books, and what we're going to do is I'm going to call out words, and the people who are going to play with me are going to pick a page in the book, and it can be any page they want, but they have to stick with that page. That's their bingo card. And as I call out the words, they're going to mark them with a little notepad, or they can just write them down if they want to too. And the first person to get 5 of the words that I call out on their page wins the round. So we're going to play that right now. Okay, we're going to play bingo. You ready to play?
Ready.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to call out words and you look for them on your page. Mark them if you see them. The first person to find 5, yell out bingo, and you're the winner for this round. Okay. Discovered. Library. The best word. New. Weird. Extraordinary. Reading. Funny. And potato.
Bingo!
Yay! She found all 5. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that I've encouraged you to take a book further before you return it, before you put it away. I hope that I've encouraged you to keep a book of books, to make a list of books you've read, to ask questions about them, and to think about them further. I hope I've encouraged you to use a book as a story starter, as a place to inspire your own writing and your own creativity, as a place to write poetry and to get different words that you could use to make poems, as a bingo card, which is really fun, or as a secret message sender. I'm saying that one last because I want you to stay tuned. At the end of the video, there'll be a slide, and I chose 3 books that I've read recently, and I created a code. So look for that. When you read these books, try to solve those codes that I've sent a little message to you through those books. I also encourage you to go to volusialibrary.org/kids. Look in our digital library. You can find these books as ebooks. You can also find lots of other resources. I thank you for watching. I hope that I've inspired you to take a book further and to enjoy reading.